Welcome to the Calm Analytics channel. This is Boris Tizangausen with you. Today is May 15th. Here are the main news stories at this moment. I'll start with some good, very good news. A prisoner exchange has taken place. Finally, the first stage of the large exchange 1,000 for 1,000 has actually happened. 205 of our heroes are home, most of them defenders of Mariupol who spent more than 4 years in captivity. According to the ghouls in the Kremlin, their only crime was defending their land, their children, their future. That is their so-called crime. The youngest of those released is 21 years old, while the oldest is 62. I can imagine the joy today in the families and among the loved ones of those who have returned from captivity. I sincerely wish that everyone waiting for their loved ones will see them return. And there's more good news. There will be plenty of it today. During an operation in the Kharkiv region, units of the 129th Brigade brought the settlement of Otradne and its surroundings back under the control of Ukraine's defense forces. Exactly so. Ukraine is not just holding the line, but is also reclaiming its territories. Meanwhile, Putin is being told that Russian troops will occupy Donbass by autumn. Now it's absolutely clear that the Botoxed loafer has completely lost touch with reality. And right on cue, CNN releases a piece on this topic. The era of Russian victories in Ukraine is over. The armed forces of Ukraine are reclaiming more territory than they are losing. According to the Institute for the Study of War, in April, for the first time in a long while, Ukrainian forces liberated more territory than Russia was able to capture. One of the key reasons cited is the advantage the armed forces of Ukraine have in the use of drones. Ukrainian drones have been increasingly destroying depots, command posts, logistics hubs, and oil refineries. But we'll get to that a bit later. I don't know who told Putin that it would be possible to capture the Donbass before autumn. Maybe they have some new term that's about to come into effect. You know, just like they have negative economic growth, maybe they meant something like a negative capture. You know, Russian troops are advancing on the Donbass confidently, but in reverse. Everything is under control. Here, Putin, take a look at these beautiful slides. On these slides, everything has already been captured. By the way, friends, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. It's important. You can do it right now. It helps promote the channel. We are fighting against Putin's propaganda. Let's do it together. And let me remind you, of course, for everyone who subscribes, you'll soon notice that your hair will become soft and silky. That's for sure. So subscribe. But that's not all. Our segment, Night Harvest. Last night, hundreds of Ukrainian drones flew into Russia and the occupied territories and found their targets. So, the Unmanned Systems Forces last night struck a BE-200 amphibious aircraft, a Ka-27 helicopter, a Tor M2 air defense system, a Pantsir S-1, and also a ship carrying ammunition in Berdyansk. And that's just a partial list of what our drones destroyed overnight. Let's watch a video of how it happened.
Повітряна тривога, лети до Таганрога, дістань до Волгограда, Саратов потруси, нехай гримить в Тамбові, Рязані та Ростові, як до Москви дістанешся, то нахуй рознеси. Дехто каже, що це гріх і так не треба, гнів та розпач можуть карму зіпсувать. Бачу сльози, чути стогін аж до неба. За це все капи мають поздихать. Повітряна тривога, лети до Таганрога, влупи як слід Вороніж і Курськом закоси. Є Лабугу поштрикай, Новгород великий, як до Москви дістанешся, то нахуй рознеси.
Beautiful. Just the way you like it. But that's not all. A powerful strike hit the oil refinery in Riazán, one of the largest refineries in Russia. It's in the top 3. There were numerous hits on storage tanks, the primary processing unit, and a fire broke out. I counted at least 5 hits. You might spot even more. I'll show you the video now. Please take a look. This plant has a capacity of about 17 million tons of oil processing per year. It's one of the largest fuel suppliers for central Russia and the Moscow region. Greetings to Muscovites. And here are some morning shots, also very beautiful. Take a look. Let me remind you that since the beginning of spring, 7 major oil refineries have already been put out of commission on the territory of the Russian Federation, and this one apparently is the 8th. The distance to it is 500 kilometers from the border with Ukraine. But for Ukrainian drones, that's no distance at all anymore. Ukrainian drones are now striking as far as 1,500 kilometers deep into Russia, and even 2,000 kilometers. Locals report that after the strike on the oil refinery, after the fire, an oil rain fell in Riazán. Well, there you go. Take it and sign for it. Tuaps passes the baton, but Tuaps shouldn't relax too much either. In Riazán, the Russians also used electronic warfare to bring down a drone right into a high-rise building. You know, it's symbolic that this building was painted in the colors of the Russian flag. Why are you shooting down our drones? Really, why? They're just flying to the oil refinery. Don't touch them. They'll reach the refinery and that's it. That's supposed to be their final destination. The Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation reports that 355 Ukrainian drones were intercepted and destroyed last night. Well, as I understand it, they were shooting them down again over oil refineries and over airfields in Yeysk. And it's only going to get worse, only worse. And right now, Ukrainian soldiers are performing a true feat. They broke the Russian spring offensive over their knee and began to liberate our settlements. And in every episode, we have an important fundraiser for the defense forces of Ukraine. Today, we are continuing to raise funds for our guardian angels for the first separate medical battalion. The fundraiser is for ventilators, which are catastrophically lacking right now at the front for advanced surgical teams. Our medics have recorded a video message for you. Please take a look.
Апарат штучної вентиляції легень – не просто медичне обладнання, це шанс на порятунок та життя для пацієнта. В умовах бойових дій, де потік поранених часто є раптовим і непередбачуваним, таких апаратів потрібно дуже багато. До того ж, вони мають властивість ламатися та виходити з ладу від високого навантаження. Разом із каналом Бориса Тізенгаузена ми вже зібрали на 4 таких апарати, але цього все ще недостатньо для передових хірургічних груп нашого підрозділу. Тому ми оголошуємо збір ще на 2 апарати. Ми щиро дякуємо Борису та його глядачам за допомогу, небайдужість і увагу до питань порятунку українських захисників.
Let's help our medical workers. In this case, your donation directly saves the lives of our defenders. The link to the fundraiser is in the description of this video. There are options for Mono, Privat, and PayPal for those who want to help from abroad. If you're watching on another channel, there's always a QR code in the corner, which also leads to the fundraiser. And in every episode, I thank you personally and on behalf of the hundreds of our defenders whom you have already helped. Remember, together we are a great force. And thank you so much. You know, after May 9th in Russia, I occasionally come across videos showing how people in Russia went wild on May 9th. You know, like how the sea washes things up every day. That's how these videos keep appearing. And sometimes it seems like, well, this just can't be real. I mean, how did they get to this point? It must have all been generated by artificial intelligence. They just can't do things like this. But it turns out they can. In Russia, anything is possible. Now, I'll show you another video. Take a look. A rusty tub with fake rockets aimed at Washington. I wonder if Russians know that Washington was their ally during World War II. I mean, it would have made more sense to write to Berlin, probably, especially since Germany is now Ukraine's key partner in providing aid. It would have been logical to aim at Berlin, but no, it's Washington. How do they reconcile in their minds that Putin regularly praises Trump? Let's just lay out this chain of logic for ourselves. Putin regularly praises Trump. Trump is the president of the United States. The United States is the founder and backbone of NATO. And Russia, according to their own statements, is at war with NATO. How does that work? Putin praises Trump, but rusty tubs with missiles are rolling towards Washington. Huh? A country that's collectively lost its marbles. There's no other way to put it. By the way, here's another piece of news. Classic Russian stuff. After changing their polling methodology, VT reported a rise in Putin's ratings. That is, for the first time in 2 weeks, VT published data on the ratings of the Russian authorities. There was a break, the data disappeared somewhere, and now they've started publishing them again. Before that, on April 24th, this state-run center, let me remind you, it's a government center, had been recording a decline in Putin's ratings for 7 consecutive weeks. So apparently someone called them and said, "Why are Putin's ratings always dropping in your reports? Make them go up." They say, well, even though we're a government center, we still have to calculate things somehow, you know? He says, change the methodology. They changed the methodology, recalculated, and Putin's ratings started to rise. So what did they do? According to their own statement, they claimed that, as it turns out, there are too many bold people in these phone surveys. So when they call someone on the phone, the person says, "To hell with that, you know, that bold Botox jellyfish, may he drop dead." All right, they wrote it down. But they were told to do more in-person interviews and focus more on the older demographic. In other words, go to the pensioners, talk to these Putin squads in person. They did that, and the ratings immediately went up. As they say, the ratings went up, but Putin did not. Yes, sorry. So you might as well conduct a poll in the State Duma, seriously measure Putin's approval rating there and say, look at that, Russians. Putin has a 100% trust rating. By the way, recalculate it according to the new GDP of the Russian Federation, and then your GDP will be bigger than the entire planet combined, bigger than the GDP of the whole galaxy. Why be shy about it? Go ahead, ask the Russian pensioners. And now, the new segment about Crimea from the Crimean Partisans. A traditional segment. We have warm, friendly relations with the Crimean Partisans. We regularly receive a lot of news from them. The Crimean Partisans are a movement in Crimea with a very extensive network across the entire occupied peninsula. This movement, through various methods, brings Ukraine's victory and the reunification of Crimea with mainland Ukraine closer. So here's what people are saying in Crimea. The local occupiers started feeling down after the armed forces began actively targeting the M14 highway with drones. Suddenly, there were far fewer foolish Russians planning to vacation in Crimea this summer. There are still some like that. They take their kids and say, let's go have a vacation in Crimea. But on the other hand, yes, in Tuapse there's an oil rain, in Anapa there's an oil-covered beach, and somewhere over there a siren is flying. Drones are flying around. So where should people go? Well, they decided on Crimea, but there are fewer of them now, so the locals are preparing for one of the worst seasons in history. The number of drones attacking occupied Crimea is constantly increasing. Since the beginning of the year, there have been several massive attacks, including on occupied Sevastopol, where I was born. There have never been such massive attacks before. The locals are telling us this. There aren't enough air defense systems. The ones they have are being actively destroyed, and no new ones are being supplied. The Black Sea Fleet fled to Novorossiysk, or rather, what was left of it, and by the way, took with it a significant portion of the air defense systems as well. May 13th was the day of the Russian Black Sea Fleet. But this year, Russian media somehow shyly avoided mentioning this date, and the media in occupied Crimea also remained silent about it. There used to be some celebrations at the officer's house or somewhere else, something or other, but where is all that now? No fleet, no celebration. And in the summer there will be the day of the Russian Federation Navy. I even remember the times when Putin would come to Sevastopol, congratulate the sailors of Ukraine and Russia, and talk about brotherly nations. Can you imagine that happened too, the underground scumbag? And then, well, he attacked. Usually, on the day of the Russian Navy in Sevastopol, there was a parade with ships and aircraft. What do you think? Will there be a parade this year or not? No fleet, no parade. Now, just imagine this picture. On the day of the Black Sea Fleet of the Russian Federation in occupied Sevastopol, there is no Black Sea Fleet in the bays. There just isn't. It ran away. The headquarters of the Black Sea Fleet, the one on the hill above the bay on Voronina Street, is simply destroyed by missiles. I don't know whether they've dismantled those wreckage, the ruins of that headquarters, or not. And then on top of that, there's no fleet there. Here is the ruined headquarters of the Black Sea Fleet, and the air raid siren is wailing. What a celebration, right? And somewhere in the distance, an oil depot is burning in Kazachia Bay. What a celebration, right? Thank you, Putin. And yesterday I missed an important date. It turns out that yesterday marked exactly 1,500 days since Russia began trying to capture the village of Malotokmachka, which is in the Zaporizhzhia region. 1,500 days. There are only 3 people left living there now. All this time, experts on Russian television have been saying there's a battle for Malotokmachka, a fierce battle is underway, just a little more, and we'll capture it. So this battle has been going on for 1,500 days already. But don't forget, by autumn, Putin was promised the entire Donbas would be captured. By the way, the head of the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, Naryshkin, apparently got high on fly agaric mushrooms again, or maybe sniffed too much incense and came up with a new spy blockbuster. Of course, in this spy blockbuster, the blame for everything, as always, lies with the treacherous and cunning Ukraine, which continues to resist and defend itself deceitfully. So, the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service has accused Ukraine of buying up Z channels on Telegram to destabilize Russia. Can you imagine? Ukrainian intelligence agencies have supposedly launched a campaign to buy up Russian military and patriotic Telegram channels in order to destabilize the situation in the country, according to the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service. Wow, can you imagine? These so-called patriotic Z channels are so patriotic that they're ready to sell out to the first bidder. But why exactly is the Foreign Intelligence Service so interested in what's happening on the enemy's Telegram network? You have your own sovereign messenger, Max. Go ahead and create your patriotic channels there. The problem is, even Russians themselves don't want to register there. At the same time, the Foreign Intelligence Service did not name any specific channels that had received offers to sell or that had already been bought in this way. This statement from the agency came against the backdrop of Putin's falling ratings, a lack of success on the front lines, as well as internet blockages and increased censorship. But sure, of course, yeah. Obviously, all of Russia's problems are because of Telegram. In general, Russians are capable of creating some truly remarkable products. It would seem that they've created their own national messenger, advertise it everywhere, and even force people to register for it. There are even some services you can't access unless you register, but still Russians don't want to use it. They still download VPNs, they still use other services. Putin really does have a knack for turning everything he touches into this national messenger, Max. And you know what else I noticed? Just a couple of days ago, Putin was once again talking about some successful tests of the Sarmat missile, and it somehow went completely unnoticed. Putin tried so hard, really put in the effort. Now we will, but absolutely no one cares. No one cares at all that this, balding spirit sheet is once again talking about Sarmats and Burevestniks. That's exactly how the whole world feels right now about both Putin and the Russian Federation. Where did Russophobia come from? Who is to blame for this? Who is pushing Russia into the abyss, huh? Let's ask that question. I think everyone knows the answer. And as for you, friends, take care of yourselves and your loved ones. Subscribe to this channel. Don't forget, and I really ask you, let's help our combat medics, the 1st Medical Battalion. The link to the fundraiser is in the description of this video. Have a peaceful day, everyone, and glory to Ukraine.